Hello, everyone. Our next work to look through is and read, examine, analyze is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Your first assignments involve researching a topic related or involved in this long epic poem, and to read through fit number 2. So if you haven't done the discussion research post, you need to do that. It involves looking up a topic through the library reference works, and Oxford Literary Reference seems to work best for these topics. So do that, write a comprehensive sentence 2 or 3 about the topic to explain what it might mean in this context, and then provide the link that should be the one through the library. So then read through fit number 2. The first 2 I think are the hardest fits, but if you keep up with what's happening, especially if you use the Course Hero study materials that you're provided, you'll understand it, and you'll also see how the poetry works. So if you've done those things, what do you remember? This is an alliterative poem from the alliterative revival of poetry. It was written in the late 14th century, that is the late 1300s in England. At that time, the culture had developed quite a bit, so that there were a lot of rules and standards for art and literature. And the old method of using alliteration to create order and structure in a poem had been forgotten or set aside for more European, highly developed forms of poetry. And this poet, whose name we don't know, uses alliteration as the creative form. So I'll talk about that more in a moment. Another topic is chivalry. Someone should have contributed an entry on that. King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, and the setting is not, this poem is not set in the late 13th century. It's set many hundreds of years before that. So it's a long ago and far away setting, kind of a fairy tale type setting. So alliteration means that the beginnings and sometimes the insides, the internal sounds of words are repeated. Let me read the first few lines. Once the siege and assault of Troy had ceased, with the city a smoke heap of cinders and ash, the traitor who contrived such betrayal there was tried for his treachery, the truest on earth. Do you hear some of those repeated sounds in that first line? Siege, assault, and ceased, all alliterate. That's the way we say that. The city a smoke heap of cinders, traitor who contrived such betrayal. So those are the patterns, and so it appeals to the ear. This was meant to be told as a piece of entertainment, read, performed for people sitting around after a feast. So the audience then is the kind of the new middle class, the new cool people, and they want entertainment. So this is an action adventure story for them. So the topics that we encounter have to do with courtly love, and there are rules to courtly love. Knighthood, there are more rules for knighthood. Chivalry, even more rules for chivalry. There's finery and armor, and I didn't finish that line. But the presentation, the outward appearance, those things are all important. Courtly love rules. So the knight is subservient to the lady. This came about after the cult of the Virgin Mary became powerful, and there was this influence of seeing the highborn ladies specifically were like goddesses. sex and the worship of the lady herself. So the knight is supposed to be subservient to and obey the lady, do whatever she asks, and that means whatever she asks. And there is a lot of prescribed, these rules you follow for how you talk to and about your love, and wooing, and their little games. So because the Catholic Church had decided at this point that the reason for sex was only for procreation, people figured out how to satisfy their desires by creating rules for love and sex and desire. And marriages in ruling classes were confined to arranged marriages for the purpose of joining powerful houses, so political power, and acquiring land. So the bride and groom were not love matches. So their purpose for their marriage was economic, political, and to create heirs. So you had sex to have babies. And if, as a woman, you survived that, you just expected that your husband was, had somebody on the side. But so the same thing started happening for ladies, and knights would come and woo them. And there was this whole system where you gave the sacrificial love as a knight to the lady. And when she granted you favor, in quotation marks, that's when the marriage or the relationship was consummated. And so she would give a token like a handkerchief or something, and the knight would wear it when he goes into battle or when he's in a contest. So knighthood, there were lots of rules, and a knight was supposed to be allegiant to his lord and king. He was supposed to have honor and be completely honest, have great skill in battle, wonderful horsemanship, and that's what set you apart as a knight. All of those, you were knighted by your leader, a king or a high, a duke or someone really highborn. And you had to earn that. You probably served as a squire, as a young teenager, aiming for your knighthood. But your horsemanship set you apart and was part of your requirements for being a knight. But there were other things. Chivalry. In the literature, there's usually a quest for a knight to prove himself. In the chivalric code, you followed the rules for dress, speech, and manners. You were a great guest. You owed loyalty to your host, and as a host, you protected all of your guests. So loyalty and humility were extremely important, and the rules of chivalry were supposedly founded on Christian ideals. But they were definitely ideals. Your armor and finery, you would have certain colors, they would symbolize things. The quality of your armor was very important. It should reflect your importance and your quality as a knight, and there were lots of symbols involved. So your appearance is supposed to reflect the reality of your character, your status, your standing. The worldview was Christianity. Now, when Christianity became a state religion a few centuries after it was founded, things really changed. When someone gets political power, when an institution gets a lot of power, it can change. You remember how Animal Farm went? That when the pigs got unchecked power, they used it, and they destroyed their friends, and they used up their friends. So that happens in the most high-minded and the most true, best institutions. If there is unchecked power, and of course I'm revealing my worldview here, but you see what you see with the patterns. But it did happen in Christianity that when the leaders of the church got unchecked power, they were corrupted. And their values changed. But some values were still enshrined in stories and rituals. And the church had greater power than the state even. So one thing that happened was that popes sent leaders, kings, and their followers on crusades to destroy supposedly the enemies of Christianity. The idea was if they don't convert, then they need to be killed. And Christians are still living down the crusades in which supposedly Christian people went and killed people. Did Jesus say if you go into a town and people don't accept you, kill them? He didn't say that. He said shake the dust off your feet, just let them make their decision and move on. So things really changed in the value system when military power was wedded to the church. So the church ran the systems of life, and that included the calendar. So everybody's life revolved around the feasts and fasts of the Christian year. And so here are some on this slide. And in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, we start on New Year's Eve. And he moves through the year, and you hear about the cycle of the year. And when we come to November 1st, All Saints or All Souls Day, Gawain starts on his quest. And then by Christmas Day, he knows he has to find a place with a church, a priest, to take Mass on that feast day. There are also pagan influences in this poem. The pre-Christian Britons observed summer and winter solstices, spring and autumn equinoxes, All Hallows Eve, Easter, as associated with fertility festivals. So these ideas do creep in to literature that has been around a long time. And of course, the story of Arthur goes back hundreds of years. So we will see some pagan elements in Sir Gawain. The idea of order versus chaos is very important. So you have the knight who follows all the rules, and Christianity supposedly enforcing order and creating civilization, making order out of chaos. And then you have this Green Knight come in. Well, the Green Knight is associated with a figure called the Green Man, who's a pre-Christian figure who was associated with fertility and life. So think about it. Green. What does green symbolize? For some people, it symbolizes hope. For other people, it symbolizes life. What happens if you cut off a limb off a tree to prune it? Hopefully you don't kill it. Sometimes you can kill it if it's a delicate shrub or tree, but it should direct more growth. So more growth will happen. So think of the Green Man as associated with the chaos of life. So order versus chaos is expressed in these two settings. Arthur's court, his fame and reputation go far and wide. The fame of the knights. Imagine if you were out in the boonies in Georgia, North Georgia, or South Georgia, and somebody from New York, who's all in the fashion world came. You'd want to know, what are they wearing? What's coming next? What are the trends? What's the music? What's on at Broadway? If they come from Washington, D.C., what's happening there? What's the cool stuff? And so when Gawain arrives from King Arthur's court in Lord Beverley's castle, everybody wants to watch him and see what his manners are like, what's changed. Does he spout poetry? Does he know everybody? Does he know everything? And the women are all curious. Oh, can he speak of love? All these things. Arthur's court has equality for all of the knights. They have an order there. It's very hierarchical, but the round table ensures that each man has importance. There are rules, honor, and games in Arthur's court, so everything is orderly. The Green Knight's world is unknown. When they come and they see him, where is he from? What is this green chapel he mentions? Nobody has heard of it. Chaotic life. Life is chaotic. Life is messy. Babies are messy. When you prune something like a blackberry vine, it just grows out of control. Nobody knows if this Green Knight's going to keep his word. Is he honorable or not? He violates the rules of the natural world by picking his head back up and his head talking. So he's testing rules. Killing or violent sport is the name of the game there. So take the quiz on Fits 1 and 2, the Kahoot quiz, and also make sure you read those. And next time we're going to talk about analyzing poetry with a method called Spider. So move on to your assignment, finish reading the poem and see what happens. Follow Course Hero summaries as you like and have something to say. Thank you.